Welcome you to Porch Talk. This is your host, Alan. And man, we're in Columbus, Mississippi, and I have Tombigbee Tales. This is a podcast that has been making huge waves. I think Shannon Evans is just just past the 100,000 download mark.
Yeah, I think
And
about 100. I think 103,000 today.
and boy, she is really just making people awfully mad. And I've had friends contact me and they was like, well, if she keeps going and doing what she's doing, she might be liable for lawsuit. But I'll tell you something. Go down to the library, go down to the courthouse, look at these files for yourself. Uh, you can't sue over the truth, brother.
No. And a lot of it's in newspapers. It's in the public pay. It's in the newspaper. You can do a public records request. They're in budgets. They're in, at the state when you look at because these are nonprofits I've been writing about. So the nonprofits have to file what's called a 990, which declares what grants they've gotten or what grants they've given. These are all public records. I am not making any of this up.
Mm.
Everything I do, even if somebody tells me something, I go and find it in public record.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Like when and I know I want to spend our time here talking about the Blues and the Blues Foundation that you're in, but I just want to spend a little time here in the opening with Tombigbee Tales because you're making such big waves. Is man, I think there's a huge misconception. Like someone actually giving a good report and doing a fair dose of journalism. And I think it's a shocking all to the community of just how shocking it is, how corrupt people who we may or may not have elected or people who have been put in places have been taking advantage of the position that they're in.
Yeah. Well,
And I ain't
I
with
mean,
it.
like for instance, right now there's a grant out there that for the MDAH, and I sent a formal letter to the MDAH, and I was like, and it's for Columbus, it's for the Tennessee Williams Building. It had a match share from our mayor, but our mayor hadn't gone to the city council to get approval, and it's not in the budget, and it's not in the minutes. Now he's had since September when he signed that piece of paper. And so he does one letter that says, well, he'll work with the city council to find it. But the other letter, the formal letter, that's the responsibility that's like a promissory note that goes in the documentation that's filed with MDAH. He signed it. It says the money's there. He's promising the money. Now, did somebody slip that paper through to him and he just signed it and he didn't bother to read? It doesn't matter if he didn't read it or not. His signature's on it. He's on the hook for it. So help me out here. So I contacted MDAH and I said, there's some problems with this application.
Hmm.
So the MD and I had four questions. I said, the requirements are, you've done a grant request. There's always requirements, right? So
Hmm.
four of their requirements are not in there. One is this letter that's signed, and he's wishy-washy, and he says he's going to work with the city council, but he promised it. That's one. Number two was there were supposed to be photographs of the damage, and so initially it was for damage to the porch, but somehow they made the MDAH think that the interior, they had some rain, they had a flashing issue from one of their chimneys leaked when they had a new roof put on, and it was repaired, but apparently it caused some plaster damage inside. Well,
Hmm.
carpenter's trying to finesse this into a $220,000 bill. At most, it might be a $75,000 repair, but somehow it's gotten blown. And so anyway, so she needed $54,069.69 from the city for her 20% match share.
Hmm.
That's not accurate. There's no photographs of the damage in the grant application. Nowhere.
If we're
No
talking about
photograph.
if we're talking about the same building, if I'm not mistaken, I think you did a walkthrough of it. Have
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
And like you
It's a
videoed the
two over
entire
two.
yeah.
It's two bedroom, it's two rooms upstairs and two rooms downstairs with an addition of a bathroom and a little small dining room that have been added on.
Mm,
We're talking, y- this is the same building that Nancy Carpenter tried to give back to MDOT. And without the CVB board's knowledge, and when they found out, they called her on it because she doesn't. If we give that building back, we also have to give MDOT $400,000.
yeah.
I mean, that's in the agreement. I went and pulled that at the courthouse. So all this paperwork exists. And so when I asked him, I asked MDAH, I'm like, it was supposed to have 3 letters of recommendation. You have 2. One of those is not signed and it's by a blind woman who's in a nursing home. She didn't sign it. So there's 2 letters, one of which isn't signed. She's supposed to have 3. There's no photographs. Um, there's the promise of money that doesn't exist, that's not been approved by the city council. So you've got all these things.
Hmm.
Send it to MDAH, and MDAH doesn't answer the questions I've asked. So I have now gone back to MDAH for a 3rd time and said, I understand what you're saying. They're saying that the building needs work. Got it. No one's saying it doesn't. No one's saying it shouldn't be preserved. This building wouldn't sell for $220,000 in Columbus, Mississippi.
Mm.
It's literally 4 rooms and an added on public restroom.
Yeah, and like all the critique of all the things that you have been doing with Tombigbee Tales is, well, you know, Shannon, she don't pay her any attention. Like, I mean, she's just blowing smoke up people's butts. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Da 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 da. All this and that. And like my rebuttal and my critique and like the conversation that I had just before I got off the phone and then I hopped on the phone with you. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was like, if she doesn't stop messing around, she's gonna get sued. And my rebuttal is for what?
It's the truth.
For reporting the truth. It's a public record. And so like I wish more people, like I wish I had 100 of you, like of all age groups. It's like as a community, as a town, as a city, however you want to look at it, I wish more people took this much pride in their town to be like, look at this is where the money's going.
Mhm. Follow the
And
money.
and it ain't doing what it's supposed to be doing. We have a problem. And like I'm I'm inspired by it. Like I'm for it. And hell be damned, of the grants and everything else is like if I'm in an association with you and I don't get those grants, be damned. I don't care. It don't matter. I'll work the festivals within the city without them. I don't care. I would like to have the grants,
No,
but
it would
like,
help. I mean, it would.
there is no good reason why I shouldn't have it because of all the tourism and everything that my festival would offer the city. It would be foolish not to receive that grant.
How many people
But
did you have at the festival last year?
almost 1,000 people.
How many were at the festival the year before?
Well, the festival before was in Kennedy, um, but
Oh,
those
so that
numbers,
okay, so it was elsewhere. Okay.
yeah.
So how many people can you have? I mean, what's the potential this year?
The goal is 2,500, and with the talent that I booked, I wouldn't doubt the fact that it could be possibly 5,000. Like honestly, at Munson Brothers, after this year, I don't think that's a big enough place to hold what I want to do. And that is the thing that I'm trying to tell
Wouldn't the
the
soccer
city.
fields be a great place to hold it if you had a real stage?
That would be the thing. That or how about that amphitheater that nobody ever uses?
Well, because it's not done, because they put the electricity down on the ground in the floodplain, and every time it floods, who put the electrical conduits down at the bottom of the amphitheater in a floodplain? Come on, it's right on the river. The other thing is they don't have any restrooms.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many
It
issues.
is perfect, but why not use the amphitheater out at the Lock and Dam?
That would be totally fine when we get to that
There's
point.
there's
But
also
like
that.
this is my second year of doing Porch Fest in Columbus, and I'm so thankful for Ryan Munson and Munson Brothers allowing me to use that space. I think it's perfect. We have Good People Brewing from Birmingham, Alabama, to come out and supplying the beer, and then Munson Brothers will be cooking and providing food, and then we'll have artisans. If you would like to see what everybody is offering, like there'll be artists, or maybe they're making earrings, or they're selling art, whatever else, all inside the garden. Maybe if we get the street shut down, are there
That would
lined,
be that side street would be awesome, or over there where the parking
wouldn't
lot is
it?
by the Boy
Wouldn't
Scout
it?
hut.
Wouldn't it? And I mean, last year they gave me the shaft with that. They gave me the
What's that?
runaround. They gave me the runaround with getting the street shut down.
Who
So
did?
at the city council, city hall, whatever is, I went up there to be like, who do I talk to about getting the street shut down? And they were like, go see so and so. Well, so and so told me to go see so and so. Then so and so wasn't even there. And like after going there two or three times, I was like, I'm gonna wash my hands of this. I don't care anymore.
How sad when it won't, when it would benefit our town. I mean, just think of because the people will then go and buy gas. They'll go to our grocery store and buy ice and drinks or whatever.
They'll
They'll
stay
stay
in
in
the
our
hotel.
hotels.
They'll go to
Th-
Zachary's.
They'll go to Zachary's. They'll go to
They'll go
Harvey,
to they'll
the
they'll go
Hunks.
they'll go to the princess after to have a drink. They'll go to Zachary's after to have a
Yeah.
drink. I mean, they'll do all this. It's good for the economy. They're staying at the hotel. They're doing Airbnb. They're doing everything. And like you want just turn it away and just act like it doesn't matter.
Well, we're gonna make it matter. We're gonna
And
make it
that's
matter
that
because
and
I have always said I am not here to destroy the CVB. I am here to hold people accountable. And then I'm here to build tourism in this town because we have a lot to offer. We have a lot to offer. We
mhm,
have a lake. We have all those people who come down the river. We don't
mhm.
monopolize of it. We have those two stupid tour buses, and yet we never go and meet the people out in the marina and say, "Hey, we don't even have a taxi service or I don't even know. I don't even do we have Uber here? Do we
Yeah,
have
we
Uber?
do. We do.
Okay. Do they go and pick up people? I mean, do they know down at that marina?
Dude,
Are we on that?
I'll tell you, I probably shouldn't say this on here, but I'll tell you a little something about our Uber is like you might be sitting next to the person at the bar who's going to drive your Uber.
Oh, well, it is Columbus. It's Mississippi. We're good old
Yeah.
boys. Anyways, my point is we have these we have these opportunities where we could market to these people and get them because they're spending money at the marina. The marina's not free to stay there. You moor, you pay a moorage fee. That's money coming into our community.
Mhm.
Then have them come into our town. They're asking what's there to do. They're asking.
And I'm trying to provide something.
I agreed. You and others, and they're getting shot down. Roast and boast. I saw the CVB director want
Hmm.
nothing to do with roast and boast. She even insinuated that they are not her people.
Yeah. What does that
You know how
even
much
mean?
money those people bring? Their rigs are $100,000, some of them. Those people have money to spend. They spend money on again, our gas, our ice, our hotels. They are spending money in our town and they are not here just overnight. They're here for like 2 or 3 nights
And
minimum.
Shannon, let me tell you, is I grew up in Kennedy and Millport, Alabama, Lamar County, Alabama. Everyone in that county when they go to do anything, they first op is Columbus. But how many times over the years has Columbus turned something down like this to where you forced me to drive 10, 20, 30 miles more to go get a service that I could have had right there in Columbus?
Yep. It's
It's almost
wrong.
it's almost like you don't want to do business.
Well, at least you don't want to attract a business. I just, we can do better. We
And
can
I
do
think
better.
that and I think that like not on apart from all the wonderful things that you do with Tombigbee Tales, but I mean these are the things that really draw me to it is like when you begin to shine light, and I think that's why like you stir people up is
I'll
like
tell you something in a minute.
oh there's a little light being shined on things that we didn't really want people to know. Oh, and I mean I don't think it's not far-fetched that why your podcast is so successful just because of that, because people people like that, you know?
Well, here's the thing. Somebody has pooped in the punch bowl, and everybody else is pretending the turd is not floating in the punch bowl. So they use the spoon and they may make the punch have waves. They don't touch the poop, but they just kind of make waves in the punch to push the poop to the other side. And then they dip out of the punch bowl and they drink from the same punch bowl where the poop is floating.
Yeah.
And they are willing to accept that. And I'm the one coming in going, hey, y'all, there's poop in the punch bowl. We can't drink this. Who did this? Let's hold them accountable. Make them pay to go make us new punch.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Is it?
pisses people off. And what's funny is people who have great ethics, or I thought, because to me, it's an ethical question. If you don't call this out, if you don't say, if you just accept it as status quo, that that's the way business is done or that's the way people do business, then you're just as guilty as the person sticking their finger in the pie and stealing or pooping in the punch bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I will not, I mean, to my own detriment, to my own detriment. I mean, I cannot explain to you how fundamentally corrupt the behavior is that I'm witnessing, and it's so blatant and nobody is, I'm just like going,
Well, I
hello.
mean, well, Shannon, I mean, like people are beginning to dig in your past and they want to know like why with your school history, like why you were removed. I mean, like people are beginning to dig into that. You know, like
Oh,
people are
why?
beginning
I'll
to
tell you
dig.
exactly why I did the right
People
thing.
are, go ahead, tell us.
One, they were upset with me because I told the kids the truth in the classroom. I got
There you
called
go.
on the carpet because I stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm respectful, but I do not say the Pledge of Allegiance. Do you want to know why?
Go ahead, tell me.
Because the Pledge of Allegiance was a poem written to sell flags.
Okay.
It was written by a Christian socialist. His name was Francis Bellamy. The
Okay.
first salute to the flag was essentially the Roman salute. Who else used the Roman salute? Hitler. We used that salute until World War II. I got a problem with that. It's a fealty oath today. It's used like a fealty oath. I just don't embrace that. And my students asked, why don't you say the Pledge of Allegiance? I told them. I gave them the history. I said, if you don't believe me, look it up. The kids looked it up. Oh my God, Mrs. Evans is right.
Okay.
I won't lie to you. But then that transpired into I literally had a student in a restroom. I won't go in a student restroom. You're not supposed to.
You shouldn't.
And I, with the parents' permission, I texted that student and said, are you okay? And you're not supposed to text students in school. I did it with the parents' permission, the parents' knowledge. And I got canned for doing the right thing because the student was in the bathroom crying, being bullied, blah, blah, blah. And the student didn't feel safe going to the counselor because the counselor and the student who was bullying her parents were good friends. And it's a small
Mm,
town and she didn't feel safe. I even communicated with the parents the whole time I was doing this. Anyways, I got canned for it, but whatever. I don't care. I
right
will
on,
always do the right thing. I
right on,
will
Shannon.
always do the right thing.
Speaking of
And,
right
and if I
things,
don't do the right thing, it's not because I didn't try. And I will come back and go, okay, I could have done that better.
speaking of right things, I would like to transition over to what you do for the blues community, and I am so happy about that. Tell us a little bit about the Blues Foundation that you have.
Okay. I'm the vice president of the Mount Zion Memorial Fund, um, which is an organization that works with blues communities and blues and the descendants of blues artists to capture the history, commemorate, and to mark the final resting places of uh it started out as marking the final resting places of blues artists, but it's become more than that. We now work to protect and to document sacred sites in African American communities. We can't just call them cemeteries. They're more like burial spaces because not it's not always a marked, organized space. It might be on old plantations. It might be in a some of them are in like right of ways on a street. I mean, it's just, it's all kinds of places, but it's making sure they don't get lost due to
Okay,
encroachment
just go
or
10 miles south from where I'm sitting right now in Crawford, Alabama, or Crawford, Mississippi. I'm sorry.
uh-huh. Yeah.
Uh, that's a prime example. Or
Big
if,
Joe Williams.
or if yes, or if we were in downtown Columbus, where that blues marker is. Like
Yeah. That
none
was
of these
BS.
things are correctly placed. But yeah,
Well, the marker for Big Joe Williams that's on the highway is a blues marker, and that was because somebody paid to put it there. His actual headstone, which is almost as tall as I am, and I'm about 5'2.5", and it comes up to just under my chin. His actual headstone we placed in made by I think we had it made at Marble Works. We placed it in the pasture where his trailer used to be, where he used to like to sit under the tree. And it's literally in a cow pasture, but it's an African American cemetery in that cow pasture. There are other people buried up the hill from him. But we did that, and that was because otherwise he was in an unmarked grave. And he hadn't been gone that long.
ain't that wild?
It's just the way it is, unfortunately. When you're poor, you can't, I mean, when your family's trying to put food on the table and pay the electric bills, a stone on a dead man's grave is it's an extravagance because they're expensive.
They are. And I mean, just we were talking during the day. I drove out to Crawford
Hmm.
today
Oh, really?
and I went out and looked at the blues marker.
Hmm.
And the blues marker is set. Is that a child's care center in Crawford or that where it's set?
Yeah, it's a community childcare. It's an old Head Start building, I
And
think.
and and I think about all the things that you had told me, and I just kind of parked for a minute, and I was just kind of sitting in that, and I was
That's
like,
about 10 miles from where he's buried.
exactly.
Maybe 6 or 7. But I
And
mean, you can't get there from here. Did you try and get to where he's buried?
you can't.
It's like you got to go hither and yon and over and under and
I would have to have you because I don't know how to get there.
no, it's not, and it's not on the actual Blues Trail, and that's where it's actually where he physically is buried.
And that's what's so crazy to me is like I have friends from Tuscaloosa who are just getting into the blues trail. Like they're enamored by the blues. These are guys in their 50s, and they had great jobs and they're retired now, and they've been playing golf, and now like they think they're into the blues, and now they're running these
They
they're
probably
running
think Eric Clapton's a bluesman.
yeah
Anyway.
Yeah, and they're running the blues trail and like they're going to all these blues markers and I've rode them a couple of times and I was like at every point in Mississippi and I was like, yeah, you caught that blues marker, but that ain't
That's not the blues.
that's not it.
No.
And it's so wild like
Most of those blues markers are not, they're not correct.
hearing that back and forth and it's like, what do you mean? And I was like, that's just where it was placed.
Yeah, somebody paid to put it there. And they're usually like the one on Catfish Alley. Where is it? Is it on Catfish Alley? Is it in front of a
Mm-mm.
black-owned business? Where is
No,
it in front of? I mean,
no, it's
the
at the lawyer's office.
it's outside a white lawyer's office, and she's not even there anymore. She's moved to Jackson. It's across the street from the White Episcopal Church. Now, the Episcopal churches, we don't care who's there, but it's traditionally a white is it put it on Catfish freaking Alley where it matters. And the other thing is, it's not all accurate. I mean, Catfish Alley Blues, if you hear it, now Booker was a great guy, but Booker just took and made some words to go to an old blues tune. It wasn't
Yeah.
original. I mean, that's probably the West Point blues and the, Crawford blues, whatever, the Aberdeen blues, they're all probably the same. Written, it's just, I don't know. And a lot of it is it's very white centric. A lot of stuff is white centric
No,
because it's who wrote.
I think it's whitewashed.
Well, it is absolutely because a couple of reasons. Those signs are people pay for them. They bought them.
Yes, they
Most of them
did.
are in front of white-owned businesses because white businessmen bought them because they knew it was good for bringing traffic into their businesses.
Hmm.
So they then bless Scott Peretta. I think he tries. I don't always agree with him, and he perpetuates a lot of white myth and a lot of what I call the magical Negro story. For instance, you know, Robert Johnson going and getting, selling his soul to the devil,
Oh my,
whatever.
I'm so over that.
But which crossroads did he go to? The one in
But
Greenwood, the one in Crawford, or in Clarksdale, the one I mean, it's all
it, it-
BS.
yeah,
Robert Johnson did as
the
much to
last
perpetuate that myth as
Shannon, the last conversation I had about uh all that, and they were telling me it's like the crossroad and all this. I've been there, and I was like, where did you go? Where'd you go?
which one? I'm going back to which crossroad?
I went to the marker, and I was like, you didn't
Which
go.
marker? There's three.
You didn't go.
There's
And I was
three.
like, all this mysticism with the magical, you know, all this and that. That's not even it.
Well,
The true story is there for anyone to see. Like he got laughed out of town and he went to the next town over and he learned how to play and then he came back eventually.
yes, because he woodshedded. He did what any
Yes.
good musician does. You want to know how he got better? I'll tell you how he got better. Pardon me, I'm putting my hair back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Getting fired
so
up.
I am. He lived in Baptist Town, which is a black community within Greenwood, Mississippi. Is what we'd call cross the railroad track, all right?
Hmm.
Baptist Town is a series of shotgun shacks. These people did not live, they were not sharecroppers. They were day laborers, and they would get picked up every day by the Witten's plantation or somebody else's. And they'd come and they'd drive around and they'd pick up everybody, man, woman, didn't matter. They made you get in the truck and you were made to go to work. You get in trouble if you didn't go to work. Robert
Hmm.
Johnson would hide under the bed so that they wouldn't find him when it was time to go to work because he could make more money every day sitting on the corner of his where his house was, right down from Honey Boy Edwards, literally. And he would sit across from the grocery store. It was, I can't remember the name of the grocery store. It became called Pang Grocery Store, but that wasn't Truett's. He'd sit across from Truett's and he would play every evening and people would pay him a quarter, a nickel, whatever. But they were only making $1 a day in the fields, if that. he was making 3 times that every evening, sitting outside entertaining the folks.
Why wouldn't you
Because
do
they were
it?
buying him his beer and his cigarettes and everything else, and the
Hmm.
women, you know. But during the day, he was in his cabin while everybody else was at work because they work from sun up to sundown. It's not like they went at 8 in the morning and got home at 5. They work from sun up to sundown, and he
Hmm.
was in his house woodshedding, playing music. He was teaching himself, and he was working at it. So this whole deal with the devil, bullshit.
Oh
I
hell yeah!
said,
You
I
know, like
said it.
oh, one of my favorite movies is Oh Brother Where Art Thou?
Oh
And
yeah, yeah,
then,
yeah.
you know, like I love and it was the Odyssey of the South, right? And it played it so well. But
Uh-huh.
like then again, like moving toward
Charlatans. It's the story of charlatans everywhere.
there's all charlatans. I mean, think
Yeah.
about it's all about the money, boys. And then he slapped the corn out of George Clooney's mouth.
Yeah,
You know? We're all charlatans.
that's
And
it.
so like with your blues foundation and what you're trying to do for these families, and you've told me many wonderful stories. Like tell me about like the hat. She still wears the hat, like with some of the things
Oh,
that
Mary Frances Hurt. She's Mississippi John Hurt's granddaughter. And
Mhm.
she has the Mississippi John Hurt Foundation, which is in Carroll County. And she has her grandfather's bowler. I guess that's what it is.
It's a bowler cap.
Yeah, it's a bowler cap. She wears it all the time because it makes her connect to her grandfather. And she has preserved his house. She paid to have it moved onto a couple miles away onto her piece of property with her family. They moved the Mount St. James Missionary Baptist Church. They preserved that. That was the church where he played, and the whole garbage that Tom Hoskins discovered him and his blues sign, and we're still fighting. They said he could have that blues sign moved. We're still fighting to have it moved. It's still sitting in front of a store where John Hurt never could have played, never could have walked in, never could have sat on that porch, much less stepped on it. But it's the BS, and that if it weren't for Willie Namour, the fiddle player, he wouldn't have been discovered. And that's not true because he'd already had records recorded.
Hmm. So
And
what
that was by
else?
Ralph Limbo down in Greenwood, Nitabina.
So what else is with the blues nonprofit you're working in? And
Well,
what is the
right,
name?
it's called
And
the Mount Zion Memorial Fund.
and so what else are they working towards?
Well, one of the things we're doing is this spring we're going down to the Gulf Coast, and we're marking the
The
grave of Rose.
blues was in the Gulf Coast, Shannon?
Oh, I know, isn't that hard to believe?
Was it really?
Yep, it really was. So, anyways, Roosevelt Graves is buried down there and with his wife, and we've done a headstone. We've done a double headstone to commemorate Roosevelt Graves and his wife because she doesn't have a headstone either. And
Hmm.
so we're going to mark their grave, and it's down. It's near. It's on the Gulf Coast. It's kind of inland, but so we're marking that, and the Ground Zero club down there has graciously provided us with the space to do um a repass of sorts to do our presentation with the descendants and to honor Roosevelt Graves and give him a proper headstone because he doesn't have one. He didn't have anything.
With the previous work that the foundation has done or the fund has done up to now with marking these graves and
Hmm.
restoring honor
Hmm.
is what I would call. What does
Hmm.
that mean to the family members that are still kicking?
It means it's a place for them to go to honor their loved one. It means that their loved one's not forgotten. It means that their history will live on and is preserved. It means it's really interesting because it means like when we did the headstone at Mississippi John Hurt's grave, which is in Carroll County. It's up in Teoc,
Mm-hmm.
up above Avalon. And there's been encroachment the actual board of supervisors gave this white guy across the road the land. He just gave it to him. That actually belonged to the Hurt family, but it was part of the St. James Missionary Baptist Church. It was where the church actually was and where the original graveyard was. And those graves, some had headstones, but most did not, because that was from the 18, I mean, it's been a grave site since those people were enslaved. I mean, we're talking 1850s and 60s. So anyways, the county gave those grave sites away, but across the road is where most of the Hurt family is buried, and that's where John Hurt's buried back in the and it's wooded, it's pretty. And so we wanted to make sure that the encroachment is that we recognize this spot for what it is and to prevent further encroachment.
Mhm.
So we put a marker up to the St. James Missionary Baptist Church, and we listed the families that are buried up there and their history. And Mary Frances had like a St. Oliphant's walk. They played John Hurt's "You Got to Walk This Lonesome Valley," and you got to walk it for yourself. And so, and
Oh
they had,
my.
and they had musicians there, and because they had the festival, the John Hurt Festival the day before, and so they had all these people walking down there, and there were people from Italy and where were they from? Italy and France and all these places, Belgium, and all over the United States and Canada,
Uh,
and they were all there walking. And guess what they ran into? On the way to the gravesite, which is public, which is, I mean, anybody's entitled to go to a gravesite of a church, especially descendants are buried there. These people who had encroached and taken the land across the street decided to put a big yellow extension cord across the road, and they're yelling. All these people
what?
walking up there singing. And they're marching arm in arm, and they're prayerful, and they're celebratory, and they're singing, "You can't come up here."
What? You
Yes.
can them you can't have
"You
all these
can't come." Oh,
people.
yep, exactly. "Who are you?
No,
You don't belong up here." And
we
they
don't.
were ugly, and they said some things that were racially ugly. But what was funny was the majority of the people were guests from all over the world. And they got to see Mississippi at its unfortunate historical behavior. But these are old.
Yeah,
It's just the perpetuation of the stupid things that we don't like to think about.
man, I think about the own stupidity of my own life is like uh some of the things that I know better in, and personally, and then as a state as a whole.
We got to do
I
better.
I give grace to it, but God, dog, we gotta do better.
Yes, we do. Well, when you turn to go from the graveyard to where John Hurt's museum is, and
Mm.
all these people who come out to go to that museum come to the festival.
Oh yeah.
They gotta go
Oh
past
yeah.
the signs that are all, um, uh, white supremacist garbage.
I agree with that.
I mean, it's on parade. It's a white camellia flag. It's all the things that, all the hallmark signs of white supremacy, and then there's ugly things about leadership that's not, positive, and these guests go by this, and I'm like going, and Carroll County wants us to support their tourism. I'm like,
How
"Oh my
about
god."
that? How about
In
that?
full defense, the mayor, who's also, I don't know if she's still the mayor. Anyway, she's in charge of their equivalent of the CVB, the Carroll County Visitors Bureau is the mayor or vice versa. I don't know which it is. Anyways, she's lovely and she's trying really hard. The clerk of the court, I think he's the chancellery clerk. He's trying hard, but
Mm.
it's
You-
it's it's an age-old battle in Mississippi, and we got to stop it. I mean, John Hurt's father was lynched.
Yeah. I mean,
Ice, Isom Hurt was lynched when John was just a baby. I think he was like 18 months old when his dad was lynched.
absolutely. I mean, that's why I'm so thankful for the Blues Foundation that you're part of. Is uh, not only shining light on these people, but the blues markers aside, but also telling the story. And that's something that we're doing right now and making sure that the people's stories are not only told, but told correctly.
Yeah. Well, I always tell people my favorite one is uh Charlie Patton. And I've been working on a book on Charlie Patton. And hopefully I'll finish it this summer. I mean, it's done. The writing's done. I was
Mm,
working with a graphic artist and I think we're done. We'll see. You're never sure until till your editor says it's done. Um, but the thing that's fascinating is, so many historians have tried to say that. So Charlie Patton had light skin. He had freckles. He had greenish blue eyes, and he had blondish red hair. He was very light skinned. And they'll go, well, his grandmother was a Native American. Like, oh my God, no, she wasn't. She was an enslaved woman who had
mm-mm,
who had a child, Charlie's father, with a white man who was the overseer. His name
mm-hmm.
was Bill Patton. Bill, whether it was consensual or not, she was still an enslaved woman and she didn't really have a voice in it. However, in Patton's defense, he claimed his son, William Patton, who was Charlie Patton's father, and he actually claimed his grandchildren. So I will give, I mean, he was, and then he drove after the Civil War, he drove a hack in the area, which is like a taxi. And then he eventually became a night watchman down in New Orleans where he died. But he, we know, we know that Charlie Patton was the child the grandchild of a white man. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's no Native American in him. None.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's just a stupid lie to tell. But the lie is told because it makes white people more comfortable with the uncomfortable. It's easier to say that he was part Native American instead of he was probably raped, she was probably raped by a white man and had or if not, there was a power imbalance and she didn't have a choice in whether she had sex with the man. And this
Right.
child was a product of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's far more comfortable to say, yeah, she was married to a Native American and he's part Choctaw. Like, he ain't no Choctaw. Yeah. It's
Well,
just the
Shannon, I
correct.
have three questions left for you. Then
Okay.
we'll walk out the door. Is question one. Uh, what are you most looking forward to in this year with the Blues Foundation?
I'm working on a project that will capture the history and the preservation of the building that was a previously an African American hospital that became the Riverside Inn in Clarksdale, where the blues artists stayed and where they essentially lived. And they stayed in the hotel there.
How
And
wonderful is
it's
that?
and it's in the Green Book, that's people seen that movie. It's actually and it's also in the Gold Book, which was an African American guide book for where a traveler could stay safely during segregation. And
How
I
about
just think
that?
that's the coolest project ever.
Question two. Tombigbee Tales as you continue to catch the society of Columbus, Mississippi with your unbantered tales that are completely true if you go to the public record. And maybe people in public office don't like that so much. What's the goal with Tombigbee Tales? What are you trying to do over there?
Uh, One, I want to capture the stories of our town. I mean, the history of our town is really interesting. Our people are interesting. They've done some interesting things. I mean, who knew a priest at the Episcopal Church was the guy who wrote the screen with the book that the screenplay, The Ten Commandments was based on. I mean, who knew? I didn't know that. I mean, there's just
I,
all kinds of stuff.
I'm learning things now.
Yep. So I mean, that's a big deal. His name's right after Cecil B. DeMille's in the credits. He's number 2 in the credits. I just think that's the coolest thing. And he died because he shot himself in the leg by accident. But anyways,
I
dumb.
hit that
He
wrong
dropped a gun
artery.
and it he dropped a gun in the vestibule of a church up in Holly Springs and the bullet went up his leg and into his body cavity and
Mm, mm, mm.
he essentially died of peritonitis 10 days later. Anyways, um 70, I think 70 years before the movie was made, or maybe 90 years before the movie. Anyways, but it was what the book was based, and the book is what the screenplay was based on. That I just random history of our town because it's kind of, I'm sure any town has history, but this is ours, and I find it interesting that people from all over the world listen to my podcast. I've got people downloading Japan, France, the Netherlands, Brazil, Argentina, Bangladesh. Who the heck in Bangladesh gives a care about the stories of Tombigbee Tales?
I guess you'd be surprised, Shannon.
I guess so. I don't know. It's probably somebody's cousin's brother or whatever. Um, there's a lot of people in the UK, but I laugh and I go, they're probably all my family. Um, Germany, those are probably all my old neighbors. So I try and rationalize who's listening, what gosh, there's somebody up in Nova Scotia. I'm like, "Oh, well, maybe that's my cousin's old girlfriend." I'm just like trying to figure it out. But it's 103,000 downloads later. I
Like a friend of mine shared a meme with me earlier, and you may resonate with this or not. I mean, you're fresh in the game and you're highly successful. But he was like, when it comes to being a successful podcaster, most people quit after 23 episodes. And that's the real test
oh, I'm having too much fun. I don't know how many I'm at now. I'm over
of,
70.
yeah, you don't know her.
But I'm just having fun. But the only thing is that it started, I mean, I'll be honest, it started because I was so angry that we had no tourism in town, and I didn't understand why until I started digging. And that it did start out as just exposing the corrupt behavior of how one person, talk about the butterfly effect, one person's corruption was having such an impact, a negative impact on this town.
And now I got to fight her.
I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I introduced you. Damn it. But I got you back. We're gonna fill that
Yeah,
paperwork out.
we're gonna get it done.
We're gonna do it because it's the right thing to bring more people to this town. I want you to have more than 1,000 people at Porch Fest. I want you to have 10,000 people.
I do too.
I mean, why not? I don't
And
understand.
if I got to fight her, I'll fight her.
Well, it's not a fight. We're just gonna fill out the paperwork and do the whole whatever it is
We'll
you know,
jump through the whole ringaroo.
yeah, just I mean, it's unfair because those directions don't exist. No one has ever seen them before, and it's new. She did it to create another barrier. That's fine. That's fine. We're gonna still get your content before the board February 27th or whenever the heck we're supposed to be there.
And
We got
Sharon, I'll tell you this, I will like 100% be at that meeting, but like on top of that, like I remember being in college, Shannon, and applying for scholarship.
hmm
And like when I talk to people who were on the board of the scholarship, is like,
Mhm.
well, all you got to do is apply and write a 2,000 word essay and all this and that, and
Make
you'll
it
get
hard for you to get it
and you'll get through. And that's what I see it as. It's like it's a hoop I have to hop through. It's like,
because the persistent person is who gets it. Who
yeah,
get I mean, you may not get everything you ask for, but I bet you get a portion of it.
I don't care if I get all of it, but if I get some of the pie, baby, I'm here.
And I mean, it's a quality of life grant. A festival is a quality of life. That's the kinds of things that they want to support. So why make it so hard to I mean, you couldn't even find the application. I had to go I only because I had found it once before.
Yeah, dude. I looked. I went through two different search engines,
You're not
and
the only one. You
I
are
I
not
could I
the only
I
one.
could not find like how to apply for it.
I have had more people tell me that they're like, the application doesn't exist. They can't find it on the website. It does not exist. That's bad. That doesn't serve your community. Of course,
Hey,
your calendar is never up to date either, so I'm not
I
surprised.
almost feel
But
like they want it that way.
I think the former director did, but she's on her way out. She's on her way out. She's going over to the Tennessee Williams building, and hopefully she doesn't stay there very long either. She needs to go to the house.
I'd love for her to go to the house. Oh, well, Shannon, I have three questions to walk out the door. I don't know if we've already been there.
You've done the first two. What's the third one?
Third one. What was your favorite part of this conversation?
I don't know. All of it. I always enjoy talking to you. It's always fun.
Man. Well, you are welcome. That was it.
Okay. Well, thank you.